Welcome back. Joining us on the show now is Jatin Singh. He's founder and CEO at Skymet. Jatin, hi. Welcome to CNBC-TV18. And the first preliminary reports about monsoon for this year are out, and Skymet is calling it as a normal monsoon. Is it too early? Is it too preliminary? How much do we read into this?
I think it's a good forecast. If you remember last year, it was in January that we said it would be a below normal forecast. And then later, I think in April, we came up with -6 and it ended up at -6 dot -6. So I think this is a good time. Everything is looking very good for the monsoon. It's monsoon neutral. That is, the Pacific is from an El Nino is going to go towards neutral, and then it is going to go towards La Nina. Plus, the Indian Ocean dipole is also supportive. It is positive. So things so far are looking pretty decent for the Indian summer monsoon.
Jatin, but as they say that the devil is always in the details there. It would be about geographic. It would be about what we see as per months. How are you looking at, as you explained, it doesn't look like an El Nino monsoon anymore, is what you're saying?
No. It's looking good now. So far out, there's a better chance of a normal and above normal and excess than below normal for sure. I don't think there's a very low chance of a below normal or a drought this year. I think you can count that out. The monsoon is looking good now, and when it comes to timing, generally when the oceans are progressing at a normal rate, I have seen in my experience, though there's a model to suggest this, that you could get somewhat of a early or a normal onset. Again, I'm just surmising. There's not too much scientific evidence, but I've been doing it for a while, so I have a sense of this. And if the monsoon is, if the oceans are supporting, then the distribution of the rainfall, both on a temporal scale as well as on a geographic scale, can be uniform. It'll be pretty decent. I think this is a year in which you don't really need to worry about too much.
That would be music to ears, clearly, because the markets have been fretting about El Nino for a very long time. And that has been one thing that almost all agri-economists, yeah.
El Nino is over, more or less.
All right. Yeah.
So it should be good. It should be good. And also, you do understand that the government of India has revised the normal monsoon from 890 millimeters to 868 millimeters. Effectively, monsoon of 23 was -6, but it was on a base of a lower normal. Ideally, if I compare it to the older monsoon normal, that is 890 millimeters, it would actually have been a drought. So now we don't have droughts anymore. I don't know why. But if you look at the classical definition, this monsoon was actually quite poor. But the monsoon of 25, the monsoon of 24 in financial year 25 is going to be pretty decent and good.
All right. So you're saying 24 and 25 could look at decent monsoons going forward. I also want to understand on what really seems to be working in favor. El Nino, as you said, is one way out. That factor is out of the way.
Yes. It's ENSO neutral. That means the Pacific temperatures are normal, and it is going towards La Nina. That means it favors the monsoon. See, there is definitely a 60% chance of normal, and also the truant here is an IOD, which is also supportive. The Indian Ocean dipole is going to be positive. That means the oceans around India are also going to support the monsoon. So it's one of those monsoons which you don't need to think about too much. It will deliver.
Jatin, how are you looking at, reports in sense of, I know this is still early times. When would you be coming out with the next report now? And when do you see, how do you see the geographic positioning of this at this point?
We'll come up with a regular, mid-April update. And as I said, geographically, it's going to be good everywhere, looks like.
Jatin, also there have been various systems that have been developed. Even IMD has been coming out with those. So what is it that you're working with right now? How have you evolved as an organization as well?
So we've been doing this with you for a long while now. So we've been we've worked out long-range forecasts and quite successfully. We've worked out a short-range forecast also. We've done a lot of computing, a lot of statistics, and I think a lot of experience also. We have been wrong, and we have openly written about it, especially in 15 and 19. But now I think we've kind of figured it out. There is variation within the monsoon, June, July, August, September, which is still a challenge because it's very difficult to pick out month to month. But in a year in which the IOD is of an opposite signal to the monsoon, or the monsoon is an ENSO, then you have longer kind of dry spells. But in a year like this, which the IOD is also supportive and the monsoon is also looking good, the probability of monsoon failing or being below normal or having long dry spells is lower in 24 than it was in 23.
Okay, all right.
That should be a
Jatin.
good news for the markets, right?
Absolutely. Well, definitely some amount of music to the ears of the market. So let's see when that plays through, because right now the markets are not taking cognizance of that. But nonetheless, Manisha, thanks very much for that. So no concerns, at least on a preliminary basis, coming in from the monsoon. Just want to point out that it is definitely the financials under pressure, and all of the banks which are set to report numbers. The key pressure point is that because HDFC Bank's margins were pressured, there is an expectation that maybe the numbers that come out in the next couple of days, there could be margin pressure in a lot of these banks as well. Tomorrow will be critical in terms of a lot of the bank numbers, IndusInd Bank as well as South Indian Bank, and separately over the weekend we will have bigger numbers to reckon with. But nonetheless, it's a wrap on halftime reports. Stay tuned. Business Lunch will take all the action forward.